Hey, this is Matt with Patriots Corner. I have a special guest on Patriots Corner podcast today. We have D.V Nelson, author and Texas State policeman. D.V, what's going on?
Not much, brother. Having a good day here. How about yourself?
Oh, it's a good day. It's always a good day when I have a guy like yourself on the show, a Texas State trooper. I'm very excited. I wanted to have someone from law enforcement on Patriots Corner, but I was busy with school and everything, and then this happened, and I was so excited to speak with you. And you have quite the amazing story. Author of 35 Pounds, the book. You sent me a copy. I was reading it. It's fantastic. You shared with me your story. But the thing that's so wild about it is that I don't want to share it with anybody else. I want them to read it because it's so amazing. It's so fantastic.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much about that. And you know what? I just want to say that looked at your show, and thank you for having those heroes on there, those veterans and spec op units, and even the wife of Chris Kyle. And I just want to say thank you for doing your part in the Patriots Corner and getting their story out as well.
Of course, yeah, and I appreciate you saying that. And you were also former military, correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I was.
Thank you double for your service, DV.
Yes. Well, thank you. Yes, I was in the military for 6.5 years. I was a paratrooper at the Fort Bragg 82nd Airborne Division, and I was air assault, which a lot of us call that double stack when you have both wings on your chest. So yes, I met some really good people.
Now, just on to go off on a side note,
Oh yes, sir.
because we will jump into 35 pounds. When you were a paratrooper, if you could just give a quick layout, that's something that's always been confusing to me, is because a paratrooper is definitely like a specialized unit, isn't it? As far, you're jumping out of helicopters, couldn't you be, or planes, or I don't know all about it. I've done research on it, and I think it's so cool.
Well, sir, it's funny how because it's actually inside the book. It's in the book of how I went through this training was because I was trying to get away from Texas. I ran away from Texas. I had too much bad memories here that I was trying to take over my life. And when I joined the military, I did my first duty station, and then I got orders to go to Fort Hood, Texas.
Wow.
And I was like, "Are you kidding me?" And out of the whole world of duty stations, you're sending me back to Texas?
You get the recruiter telling you, all right, you're going to see the world, but
It's
first we're
pretty
going to put
amazing.
you back where you don't want to be.
Yes. And in the book, I talk about how the good Lord has plans for each and every one of us, and how um, His plan supersedes our plan. So in the book, I talk about that as in there that everything was bringing me back to Texas. So I avoided Texas by going into the 82nd Airborne Division, which was a volunteer unit.
Yeah.
So I go in their volunteer unit, and as I'm there, they're telling me the instructor, day one, the instructor, he's a black hat, gets up on the stage and he says, "Hey, I just want to tell y'all, if you fail this course, you will go to needs of the Army." And that was either two places, Korea, which I just came from, and I have no desire to go back, or Fort Hood, Texas.
Wow.
So it was do or die for me, to succeed at becoming a paratrooper. And the funny thing, I was scared of heights.
Oh, wow. Really?
Yeah.
Well, that just goes to
Yeah.
show how tough of a guy you are, because if you're
So
willing to break that, then, and you guys are jumping out of crazy heights too, right? This is
yeah.
not just some, hey, we're going to go bridge jumping and, jump off into the water. You guys are jumping into the sky.
Well, no, not necessarily. To be a paratrooper, you're jumping static line, which is a line attached to your parachute, your pack tray. So when you go out the plane, you're jumping for training. You're jumping 1,200 feet from the ground.
Wow.
Okay, but when you go to when I did that, when my first jump, I told myself that I was going to have a night jump. I was just going to close my eyes and just have a night jump, you know.
Huh.
And I was so scared that when that door came open and the light turned green, I went out that door, and I was so scared I could not close my eyes. And The wind was blowing in my face, and the parachute opened up, and then I said to myself, "Wow, I really like this,"
Wow.
so I became a paratrooper. But when I went to the 82nd Airborne Division, the harsh reality of being airborne came into play because they said, "Hey, we're not jumping 1,200 feet here. That's training. For a division jump, we jump 800 feet from the ground,
Yeah.
and 800 feet is not very high. And a combat jump is 500 feet without a reserve because if your chute doesn't open, there's no point in having a reserve because you're going to hit the ground." And they told us that a parachute, an army parachute, a static line parachute, is designed to get you from the air to the ground as fast as possible without killing you.
Well, I got to say one thing just to interrupt real quick. That's what I honestly, it's going to sound crazy. That's what I love about you guys because you're so mentally tough. How you just saying, if you jump and you hit the ground, there's no point in having a reserve. Somebody else who's, regular, not going to perceive it the same way is going to be like, what? What do you mean? It's going to hit the ground. You guys already know what's going on. You know what's going to happen. And, it's like a no fear kind of thing. I mean, it's so to the point and cut and dry. And that's what I respect to the nth degree because it's one way or it's going to be, no other way. That's what I find so interesting.
Well, thank you. And the thing about that, when you say that, to be airborne, it's about you have to volunteer. They can't just send you.
Okay.
Same thing with special forces. They can't send you. You have to volunteer for that. And rangers, you have to volunteer for those units. And when you have those units, those are all everybody wants to be there.
Yeah.
And when everybody wants to be there, you have this camaraderie, this brotherhood of that's my brother. I don't care what race you are. I don't care what religion you are. That if you're a paratrooper and you're jumping with me, you're my brother, and we're going to go into combat.
You have to go
So
through airborne before you go to be a ranger as well. Is that wrong or am I correct with that?
no, no. Well, either way, you can go to airborne school first if you choose, and then go to ranger school, or you can
Okay.
go to ranger school. But regardless, if you become a ranger or special forces, you will go become airborne certified.
Wow.
So but no, we're like the lowest of the totem pole for volunteer units. We're not special forces. We're not rangers, but we do jump with some guys like that, and we cross train with other military units around the world.
That's
But
so
yeah,
cool.
yeah. But you have your brother there, and you jump because the guy in front of you is jumping, and the guy behind you he's ready to jump, so you're gonna jump.
Yeah.
And when you land, the first thing you do is, of course, you collapse your chute, but then you go into there and you're like, you know what? I got to take care of my brother, whoever's hurt, and that's what we start doing. So yeah, it's really good. I thank you for asking me about
Hey, no
that.
pro. I already, I get those random thoughts. I already got something popping up in my head saying that we got to have you back on, again for untold military stories or something like that.
Yeah,
I
that'd
think
be
it's gonna be
great.
cool.
That'd be great.
That would be great. Well, I want to jump into your life as a Texas State Policeman, Highway Patrol. First off, say thank you for your service. But a lot of officers are under fire right now. Not, obviously, literally, and then, just with verbal from other people around, within the country. I don't agree with it at all. I am a huge supporter of law enforcement, all branches. But I got to tell you one thing. I love the Texas State Police, man. You guys got the cowboy hats, you got the badge. You guys are ready to rock, and you have no fear. And you have one wild story that showed no fear through you at all, and it was your, best seizure that you ever made. You say, right?
Yes, sir. Thank you for that. We love our uniforms, and believe it or not, we're the only state troopers. If you were to get all 50 states and put all the state troopers in one room, you could spot a Texas Highway Patrolman
Yeah.
because we're the only ones that still wear a cowboy hat.
That's so cool too. And is that just like a traditional thing? And I think it's the coolest thing in the world too. Because one, I love the state of Texas. My grandfather, Ernie, he's actually originally from Texas, and he ended up going over to Louisiana as a young guy, and he just always is saying how much he wants to get back to Texas. His family line goes so far back to Texas that his father, I'm not sure if you're familiar with something called the King's Ranch.
Yes, sir.
He
Yes,
worked
sir.
on the King's Ranch. His father
Sir,
did. Broke
that's
colts.
big. That's big here in Texas, sir.
Yeah.
That's very big here. Yes, sir. Very familiar with that. Yes, they own a lot
Beautiful
of land.
state, though.
Wow, yeah, it's craziness. Geez, small world.
That's what I'm saying, man. But I mean, see, he wants to get back. I want to go. We're, on a side note, we can let the listeners know we're already trying to plan our hog hunt, DV.
Yes, sir. Come on. I trust me. You will not be disappointed.
Oh, I know I won't.
We'll drive around to Polaris and shoot us some hogs. Okay.
Oh wow, it sounds wild. But so let's jump into the story because I want to share with the people, some side secrets that you could share. Because first off, everyone who's listening, you got to read it. 35 pounds. It's on Amazon. It's in Barnes and Nobles too, isn't it?
Yes, sir. It's Barnes and Nobles as well.
So when you were explaining your story to me, it started off different. You're back in Texas, obviously with the military. They station you back in Texas, and you go on to wanting to be a Texas State policeman. And from there, I'm going to let you take it because you share the story because it's your story, and it's the chilling, almost a little bit quote unquote stranger thing that happened to you in that squad car that I still get chills when I think about.
Yes, sir. Again, to all the listeners, this is an inspirational, true story of hope to anyone needing any type of direction in life. And it's also about living with integrity, having faith in God, and how people come into your life for a reason. And I explained it in the book because I know you talk about me becoming a highway patrolman, but when I was younger, I come from humble beginnings. I came from a broken home, no father. Uh, the way I was struggling, I mean, we even had Christmas dinner at a church because we had nowhere else to go.
Wow.
And as a little boy, you don't understand that. You don't understand how you're living, and so my mother, she, and don't think I'm a holy roller because I'm not. I'm far from it. But when I was younger, my mother, her version of church was, "Hey, I need something. Let's go light a candle," which I never understood that, and that's all. That's as far as it went. So when I was younger, we were struggling. We were taking bags of, we would go to Goodwill at night, get bags of clothes, and whatever fitted and liked, we kept. Whatever we didn't like, we sold it in yard sales.
Yeah.
But at a young age, I told myself I wanted better in life, and I always went to church. I mean, I tried to have a relationship with God, and it never really fit in, and because my family never went. And it wasn't until when I was in high school, and I went to stay at a friend's house, and his dad was a special forces guy, and they were just talking. It was weird to me. It was weird to be around a family, a whole family, not come a real good home, and they took me to church with them, and I remember when I went to church with them, the pastor had said, if you're seeking change in life or you want a better life, come up front. And I said, wow, that's what I've been looking for. That's what I've been, seeking. So I moved to the center and I was walking down in front of the congregation. And I was walking in front, I stopped dead in my tracks. In between the congregation where I was sitting, just right in the middle, I just stopped. And the weirdest thing was the fact I stopped, but that people went around me. Nobody walked with me. Nobody stopped me, whatever. So it was like I was scared. So I went back to sit down, and then my buddy the next week I stayed at his house again, and because I didn't like where I was at, and went back again, and same thing happened. I couldn't go up to the front to have a relationship with God, because I didn't know God. And again, I'm not a holy roller, but I'm just telling you how my story is. So, like I said, I never gave up, and I'm there, and I get older, and I say, I'm going to join the Army, get away from Texas. And I joined the Army, I got away from Texas, I went to basic training, and I met a chaplain there, and the chaplain kind of opened my eyes a little bit, and I got to talk to him, and I freaked out that I was actually up front this time talking to this man. So I did that, and he told me, he goes, "Hey man, you know what?" He goes, "You don't look like the religious type. I'm talking to you. I know you're seeking them, but you're scared. Whatever." He says, "I want to give you a verse to use." I said, "What's that?" And he says, "I want you to remember Philippians 4:13, which is, I can do all things through Christ who give me strength." So I was like, "Okay, cool, whatever." So I went through. I was doing my basic training, and I remember the training we had, the road marches. I would say, and it helped me out, whatever. But I was still drinking. I was doing all my partying, all that good stuff. True sinner. So, uh, again, I don't think I'm a holy roller. I'm just telling you my story here. And so I went through that, and when I graduated basic training, nobody came to see me. I was alone. So I went to my AIT where you learn your job, and I ended up getting spinal meningitis.
Wow.
Yes, and I'm laying in the hospital bed. I mean, I had a headache. I laid down. I told my buddy, "Hey, keep an eye for the drill instructor, drill sergeant. I'm going to take a nap." So I took a nap, and next thing I know, I wake up in the hospital, and I'm in a six-man room, but I'm by myself. I'm quarantined, and doctors are coming in with masks. Well, long story short, they tell me that three of us have it, and one died already.
Oh my
So I'm
gosh.
so angry at God. I was like, you know what? And I can't believe this. I give up. Whatever. And I come from a broken home, and I was hoping to live a better life. And I was like, gosh, what the why me? Why is this happening to me? So I ended up I made peace with myself. I made peace, with my life, and the best sleep I had. And I remember calling my brother, telling him, "Hey man, I'm gonna die, man. Don't tell mom because she don't have money to come see me." And you know, so I was like, whatever. So I ended up the next day I woke up and they said, "Hey man, I had three spinal taps done on me and everything. They're like, "Hey, your body's taking antibiotics and you're gonna make it."
Yeah.
And I never asked about the other guy. They never bothered to tell me about the other guy. So I ended up going to Korea, whatever. That's when I told you I left, finished Korea. I was going to go to Fort Hood, but I went to Fort Bragg. You know the rest of the story on that part.
Very true.
So I tell you, I love jumping. I was partying. I was drinking. I was chasing women. I got married.
You're being a
So
badass.
yeah,
Rock on.
uh, then I went to Hawaii, and again, oh, I'm sorry, I was at Fort Bragg, and I got orders again to go to Texas. So everything is bringing me right back to Texas again. So I said, you know what? I told them I will re-enlist if you give me Hawaii, because I know I'm coming back over to the 82nd.
Okay.
And okay, so I go to Hawaii. I'm thinking I'm the master of my universe here. I'm taking charge. And what happens? I blow my knee out. So I blow my knee out. I'm not mission capable. I can't do my job anymore. They offer me a supply job. I said, I'm not going to be some pogue. I have airborne air assault wings on my chest. I'm not going to work supply. That's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
So I ended up getting out of the Army. So I get out of the Army. I go back to Texas. Out of all things, Texas. The place that just had bad memories for me. So I go to Texas. I work as a hotel security for 1 year, and then I get recruited by DPS.
Okay.
So this is where we're at right here. I just had to give the backstory on that part. So I'm in DPS, and I'm in the academy, and of course, I'm used to it already. I'm used to the bed flipping. I'm used to the physical training because I just got out of the Army.
Yeah.
And so I'm there, and the training. I didn't know what a state trooper did. I mean, I know he was a police officer, but I'm a city boy, and so I'm there, and this individual comes in. They give you different classes. A guy will come in who specializes in this class
Okay.
for crime scene photography. This guy and this person for accident investigation. Well, here comes this one trooper, and everyone's around him. I mean, literally all the sergeants and the staff are coming in, shaking this guy's hand. So I'm like, who's this guy? Who's this guy? Who's this clown? And they said, oh, this guy is, he's going to give you a class on drug interdiction. And he starts talking, and you look at the guy, he looks like a regular guy.
Yeah.
And then he shows us his pictures, and he has kilos of cocaine, heroin, pounds of marijuana, millions of drug money, which are the proceeds from narcotic distributions, weapons, and this guy's really good. And I look at his pictures and I said, you know what? That's what I want to do. That's what I want to do. I want to get dope off the street. I want to get guns and money and all that good stuff. And the guy's talking, and he gives us a class. When he's giving us a class, and he gives a class, and he goes, for you guys that are like me, he says, I'm a hands-on guy. So he takes us outside, and he has these seized vehicles with compartments in them. We have to look for the compartments. So he shows us how to search, how to properly search vehicles. So we did that. So when I graduated the academy, I was so eager to learn drug interdiction that my first year, I led the area in drug arrests. My first year as a trooper. So I led the area in drug arrests, and they started sending me on drug task forces because they saw, wow, this guy has the drive, he has the hunger. Put him in drug task force.
Wow.
So
dangerous unit too, right?
Yes, sir. Yes,
very
sir.
dangerous.
So I'm working the highways, and I'm not getting anything, but I'm learning. I'm getting a lot of info. You know, a lot of OJT right here. You know.
Okay.
So I'm right there with these drug task forces. You know, I'm stopping people, whatever, and these guys are making these big seizures. So I would go talk to them and see what they did, and they were telling me how they did it and everything. So I was married, and my wife at the time she was unhappy with living in a small town. And our town was so small that we had a Walmart that closed at 10. We had one McDonald's, which was referred to as the McDonald's.
The McDonald's.
Yeah, where are you gonna go? We're gonna go at the McDonald's. Oh, okay, cool. You know,
we got one of those out here in West PA too, but I'll tell you right now, everybody always gets the runs from it. It's the worst, man. Everyone always gets the runs from the one out here.
That's hilarious. Yeah, because they know you're going back anyways.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, okay, we're all going to the McDonald's, and okay, make sure nobody's in the bathroom afterwards. You know, let's take turns, draw straws.
So, I move, and it's funny how people come into your life for two reasons. So you're gonna learn from them either what to do or what not to do. Seriously, that is it though, because people come into your life, and they're either going to be good for you or bad for you, you know?
Yeah.
So I transferred to Gonzales, Texas. I go there, and as soon as I walk in, now let me stop right there. Every office in the Texas Highway Patrol usually has 1 to 2 drug interdictors. Okay?
Okay.
But when I walked into this office, there was 6 drug interdictors in this office.
Now, does that mean that there was a lot of drugs in the area?
Yeah. Sir, we have a wall. We call it the Wall of Fame. And it's all the whole wall was covered of drug pictures. Everything from tire loads, dashes, engine compartments, false floors, rocker panels, bumpers, spare tires, everything you could think of, it's up on the wall. And
wow.
The wall is so full that each trooper had his own wall behind him in his office. So we have one big wall, and then the ones behind their desk, they're hanging up the extra pictures.
It's like they're trophies.
Yes, sir. That's what we call them. We call them trophy shots.
And also, DV, I'll tell you right now, I'll pull a Conan O'Brien moment. You do not need to call me sir. I'm only a radio host. You've got so much more badassery. I should be calling you sir.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Matt. So I'm with these guys, and I'm learning so much. These guys they're literally, we're on the road, we're getting seizures. I'm riding with them, and they're getting the seizures, the drug seizures. And I'm like, wow, that's really cool. And I'm learning. And then they're taking me to the record yard or to the seized vehicle pen, and they're showing me, all right, look for the compartment, you know, see how good you are. And, you know, and I'm looking at it, and I find it, or I don't find it, and they're like, look here. You see the screws, how they're tampered with? Yeah, that shouldn't be that way. You know, this is all factory, but whatever. So I'm accessing it. Oh, wow, I learned it. So I'm 6 months there. I'm 6 months in in Gonzales that I end up transferring to Seguin,
Wow.
which is about 40 miles outside of San Antonio.
Okay.
So I'm there, and next thing I transferred. I told my wife, hey, you know what? Um, this is it. We're not moving anymore. We're not going to get San Antonio, so we're just going to buy a house, and that's it. Well, she ends up divorcing me 3 months later,
Big
and she's
mistake on
like,
her part.
yes, sir. Well, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
She ended up taking my boys with her, and now I'm alone. And of course, depression kicks in a little bit, and I'm thinking, and I start praying to God a little bit, like, God, why does this happen to me? I mean, I survive spinal meningitis. I'm trying to better my life, and yet I'm going through this hell. But it's funny because sometimes to reach heaven, you got to go through hell sometimes. You know what I mean?
Going through
You,
hell, keep on
you,
going. He sings that song.
yeah,
Rodney Atkins, I think.
yeah, Rodney Atkins. Yeah, that's right. You got to use that compass. The needle for your compass to sew up yourself.
Yeah.
So and anything you want to succeed in, you have to go through hell for it to succeed. Because it's not just going to be given to you. So I'm going through this. And my ex-wife leaving, and I decided to make a decision. I am going to focus on drug interdiction. And sure enough, I ended up hitting my first load, 20 pounds of marijuana. And I got it from this guy off the interview alone. And so I'm interviewing this guy, and just by the interview alone, I get a seizure without even finding it. Because he was everything he was saying, everything he was doing was textbook to deception. This guy's lying to me, and he's real nervous. His hands are shaking. His artery in his neck is bouncing in and out, and a scared look. And I just took a shot in the dark, and I said, hey, not a shot in the dark. I knew he had something, but I decided, you know what? I said, hey, man, how much dope do you have? And he says, well, first he says, sir, I'm nervous because I have a blunt in the ashtray. That's why. So I said, okay. And I said, let me see it. So he sees, I go look at it, sure enough. And I look at the blunt, and I said, I'm not looking for blunts. I'm looking for pounds. And life just sucked out of him right there and then. And I said, how
Wow.
much do you have? And he says, and he stuttered. He goes, I got 220. And I was like, all right, turn around, you're under arrest. So I hook him up, and I call my buddy, and my buddy calls me up. Buddy calls me on the radio, and he says, what'd you get? And I said, I got 20 pounds. Where's it at? I go, I don't know. He says in the trunk. He goes, what do you mean? He says in the trunk. I said, yeah. He goes, you better double check. This guy could be crazy. You're arresting a guy for no, for no, nothing in the vehicle. I said, oh shit, you're right. So I opened the trunk and opened up the suitcase, and like I told you before, I felt like in the movie Pulp Fiction when the light
Yeah.
comes out. So
Very true.
yeah, I was like, look, I've never seen that much uh, weight before.
Oh, I can imagine. It'd be nuts.
Yeah, so I end up getting the guy, and we take my trophy shot, and my buddy goes, you know what, Dave? He says, you're gonna get a lot more dope after this, I guarantee it. So when you look at the picture, I have the number one finger up because it's my first load. You know what I mean? The number one finger, I just have it pointed up. It's my first load.
Hell
So
yeah.
sure enough, I started hitting 100 pounds. I even hit a ton in one day.
Wow.
Me and my buddy, we had this thing, and he would say, "The sky is blue," and it didn't mean it could be raining outside. And he would call me, and he would say, "The sky is blue," and what that meant was, "I got a load of dope. Your turn." Because we rub it into each other because we were both adjoining counties right next to each other.
Yeah.
So he calls me up. I'm working night shift, and he's working a day shift. And he calls me up, and he says, it's about 11 o'clock, or yeah, about 11. He says, hey, Dave, what's up? I said, what's up? He goes, oh, sky's blue. And I was like, what? Oh, man, you serious? What'd you get? He goes, I don't know. I am at 900 pounds right now.
Oh my gosh.
I said, what? He goes, yeah, I'm at 900 pounds right now. I said,
900
I
pounds.
got yeah. He goes, I got a couple more bundles to weigh, but yeah, it's gonna be over 1,000. So I said, "Oh man, that's good." He goes, "Man, traffic looks really good, Dave. You need to come out." So I called my sergeant. I said, "All right, cool, man. Congratulations, brother. Congrats." So I hang up the phone. I call up my sergeant. I said, "Hey, sergeant, I know I got to come out at this time, but can I come out early? Because my buddy hit a load, Trooper Pat." And my sergeant goes, "I know. He's beating you." And I'm like, "What?" He goes, "Well, come on out." I said, "Okay." So I come out early, and I'm sitting there in the interstate watching vehicles go by, and I see this car go by, and I stop this guy, and he's wanted out of I don't remember where, but he's wanted for hauling cocaine.
Okay.
But he doesn't have nothing in the vehicle. He just wanted. And luckily for me, the process to do someone with a warrant is real quick. So I have the paperwork in my vehicle, so I hook him up, car wrecker, do the paperwork. I go to the jail, drop him off, come back on the road. My third stop, I see two vehicles coming down the road, and they're both from the border.
Okay.
And the way I do it is we don't racial profile or nothing. I look at the vehicles, and I look at this vehicle, and I says, "Vehicle coming from the border." Well, I said, "Well, you're going to Houston. You're on the wrong road because there's another road that's shorter." So this guy, but that's like a gauntlet for troopers knocking down a lot of dope. So as I'm trying to catch up to to two vehicles, uh, one of them is close to the border, and the other one is on the border. Literally on the border. And I mean, like throwing a rock distance from the border. You know what I mean? From the Rio Grande.
Yeah.
So I run the first play, and I said, "Oh, he's close to the border," but I didn't like the fact there was four people in it. So I go to the other vehicle, and only one person driving it. And I go to and I run that one. That one's on the border. I said, "This is the one I want." So as I'm trying to get in, the truck won't let me inside in between them. So I just real aggressive. I get in between them and I stop the truck. With this truck, I stop him, and I have 1,000-pound load on it. This guy has another 1,000 pounds, 1,069 pounds of marijuana in the vehicle. And as I'm arresting him, the pickup truck that wouldn't let me cut in, he's passed me up 3 times already on the interstate. He would go down the interstate, get off the exit, take the overpass, come back, and we call it race tracking. And he's race tracking me 3 times. So I'm like, "Oh crap!" So I call my buddy. I said, "Hey, stop, get back up because I don't know if they have any weapons." I said, "I already have I took out my rifle." So I'm using my vehicle as cover. I have the guy in the front seat with me, on the front seat, handcuffed, and I have my M4. Well, my buddy sees the units coming. I mean, I see the units coming, and the truck sees them. Well, he hightails it out of there. Well, come to find out, my buddies catch up to him. They arrest him for evading, and we get his cell phone. His phone was connected to the two loads. The one that my buddy got in the county before me, or after me, and the load I got. So we seized a ton of marijuana in one day, just on the roads on the interstate. And believe
Wow.
it or not, that happens more often than you think.
Jeez.
Yes, sir. We call that suicide loads because once you get stopped, you're done. There is no hiding it. But
So
having said that, I'm sorry. Go
yeah.
ahead.
No, I was gonna say. So in connection to with 35 pounds, that this truck that was coming up, is that what you were referring to as the crazy moment of your life?
No, that wasn't it. Having said that I've seized a ton of marijuana in one day. The biggest load of my career is 35 pounds of marijuana.
Yeah.
And the reason why I say that was because after I got a lot of seizures from that ton to when I got the 35 pounds. And the reason why I throw the ton in there because I want people to know that yes, it is a lot of weight, whatever, but that's not my biggest load because the biggest load ended up being was the 35 pounds of marijuana. When I was working the road, I went to go stop another vehicle, and when I went to go stop this vehicle, I heard this voice that said, "Dave, look at the truck next to you." So I did. I looked at it, a little truck next to me, and it's a work truck out of state with no tools. And it's out of state. No one works out of state and don't bring their own tools. So I end up stopping him. The guy takes off on foot. I get a seizure, and I can't find him. I get intel on it. I grab all the intel. I find a credit card. I find registration. I find pictures, receipts, everything. So I make a copy of it. The next day, two Caucasian males come pick up the vehicle. Nothing wrong with that, with the exception of my driver that ran from me was a Hispanic male. He was a Hispanic male who tried the I don't speak English thing. Well, I speak Spanish. And so he took off. When he took off on me, I'm there with this vehicle, and we do all this. We take my trophy shot. Well, come to find out, we ID those two guys, and a week or two later, a federal agency from another state is calling me to see. They say, "Hey, we got information that a guy ran from an officer, possibly a trooper, and we're going down the road, each county, seeing who did it. Who was the officer." And I said, "Well, that was me." So we correspond, and I give him everything I have, and he calls me back up, excited. He says, "You blew my case wide open."
Wow.
The credit card you found. Now remember, this is another state that contacted me. He said, "The credit card you found, that's the ringleader. The two Caucasian males that picked up the truck, one's a right-hand man and one's under the radar. He's like a gopher guy. That's why they don't catch him. And the guy that ran from you is the mule. He's the one that transports the narcotics or money." He says, "You blew my case wide open." I says, "Okay, cool. Congratulations. At least you're doing something with it. I can't." Because prior to that, I had called the sheriff's office in the county where he was registered out of, and the narcotics officer thought I was rubbing it in his face that I made a seizure. So I was like, whatever, hung up the phone. I don't need this crap.
Yeah.
So, anyways, me and this agent, we're corresponding back and forth. This federal guy, we're corresponding back and forth for a whole month. And then he tells me, he goes, "Hey, Dave," and every time I called him, he always picked up my phone. So he calls me, and he says, "Hey, Dave, you mind doing me a favor?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure." He said, "Do you mind going to the jail and IDing this guy? Because we have the guy that ran from you, the Hispanic male that ran from you. He thinks he's going back to Mexico, but we have a hold on him." I said, "Sure." So I go to the jail. I call my sergeant, and I say, "I'm going to go to jail." So he's all right. So I go to San Antonio, which is 40 miles away from me. And I get there, and my sergeant, I walk in there, I talk to the jail sergeant. I get the guy, and I look at his picture. And I said, "Yeah, that's my guy, but I want to see him. Bring him down here." So they bring him down. He's a Hispanic male in his 60s, so he's handcuffed, and he just walks around the corner. And he walks around the corner, he sees me stand there in full uniform with my cowboy hat on, and he just goes pale.
I would too.
Because he knows the gig is up. He ain't going nowhere. You're screwed. You didn't get away. And so we're there, and we're like, okay, cool. So I walk out, and I call the agent, and he does not answer my call. This is the only time he does never answer. This is the only time he does not answer my call. So as I'm there, I ended up, I'm at home. I'm drinking Jack and Coke, listening to George Jones.
There you go.
All honky tonk, And I get a phone call from my dispatch, my communications office. And they say, "Hey, Dave, the San Antonio Police Department has your children. You need to come pick them up." And that's really not really good news. That's not. And I said, "What's wrong? My kids okay?" And they're like, "We don't know. No information is given. So I don't know if I'm picking them both, picking up one, or picking them up at a morgue." You know what I mean? I mean, not picking them up at a morgue, but
Yeah, of course. You get
I don't
nervous.
know. So I've been drinking. I'm in law enforcement. I know I can drive, but I don't. So I get my neighbor to drive me, and we're driving down there, and it's the longest drive of my life. So I end up getting there, and I notice the doors kicked in, and the officer, I introduced myself, and he knows who I am. And he tells me that my ex-wife was trying to pawn the kids off with the neighbors, but the neighbors said no. The kids always talk about their dad's a state trooper, and they'd be with their dad. So I walk in, and my ex-wife's in handcuffs, and she's looking down at. She's looking down. So I get my boys. I'm walking out, and I tell her, I wouldn't look at me neither if I was you. So I ended up. I can't sleep that night. I drive home. I can't sleep that night. I'm crying. I'm laughing. I'm angry, sad, depressed. Everything's an emotional roller coaster. So I call my sergeant and I say, hey, I don't know what's going on, but I need some time off. I need to figure out how I'm going to situate my new house and my kids. I have the room. I just need to get some furniture and stuff. So my sergeant says, take as much time as you want, Dave. You're a good troop and whatever. Okay. So I told my kids to go to my mom's house. Go visit grandma. So we go visit my mother. I get rest there, about 6 hours sleep. I get my kids. I'm driving back, and I know San Antonio like I know the back of my hand.
Yeah.
And I missed my turn. And it's funny how things happen because the good Lord works in mysterious ways.
Very true.
So my phone rings because I'm thinking, what the hell? I just missed my turn. What the hell's wrong with me? My phone rings. It's the agent. And he says, hey, bud. He goes, hey, man, sorry to return your phone call. He goes, remember those guys you ID'd? I'm like, yeah. He says, well, the gopher guy, we popped him with half a key of coke.
Wow.
And he told us a pound sand. But we told him that we have him linked to your case, which is drug smuggling across interstate lines. That's federal, and you're looking at Fed time, 20 years.
Wow.
Because we have everybody identified. So the gopher goes, screw this. I ain't going down with myself. If you caught me, you caught us. So he says the right hand man has 10 keys of coke at his house. He's been stealing and cutting it up, making extra. So they hit his house. Sure enough, 10 keys of coke at his house. And now the right hand man's scared that the ringleader is going to find out that he's been stealing. So he says, screw it. The right hand man has 20 keys of coke at his house. So he's telling me this story. He goes, yeah, we bust that guy in this state. It's another state, remember?
Yeah.
They're doing that. So then he says, he goes, yeah, man, he gave up his sources of cocaine, and he also gave up his source of marijuana in San Antonio. He goes, yeah, man, I got the agents down there. They hit the house last night. There was a big mess. There's kids involved, man. And I said, what? And I remember I almost lost control of my vehicle. And I pulled into a parking lot across my old high school. And I said, what'd you say? He says, it was a big mess. I said, no, before that. He said, we had a house in San Antonio. I said, after that. And then he goes, there was kids involved. I said, was it two little boys? Twin boys? He goes, yeah. I said, was a girl named Karen? I said, was a girl named Karen and the guy named this? And he goes, how the hell do you know that, Dave? I said, dude, that's my ex-wife.
Yeah. Wow.
My case came back full circle.
And it came back first circle with God working in mysterious ways, and with it's just so wild how when you say that one point, it's just crazy because everything happened for a reason. Even when you were in the Army, staying in Texas, your heart was in Texas, and it was almost as if there was some form of predestined that this was going to happen to you.
Yes, and the people in my life. I mean, I had these. It's unheard of to have an office of interdictors. It's unheard of.
Yeah.
But I had these guys molding me and training me and guiding me and they taught me from everything from how to start how to conduct a good traffic stop to going to court and everything in between there. And again, people came into my life for a reason, And I mean, again, don't think I'm some holy roller. I'm far from it, man. Like I said, I drink my whiskey. I have my girlfriend with me, but this is proof that. I mean, I don't know how else to prove it. I mean, you can call it karma. You can call it divine intervention. You can call it the universe was lined up, the moons were lined up. I don't know. But let me tell you something. The odds of this happening are astronomical. Because I end up getting custody of my kids. from another state working a case. That's insane to me. That is insane to me.
Wow. That is incredible.
Yeah.
Now,
we.
as far as all that happening,
Mhm.
and that made you write the book, and it's your story's so incredible. That's why I want people to go buy it, and I want them to read it. Can you share where, if you don't, it's your book, you share where they could get. I know I mentioned Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, but I think people should read this because it's not heard of. It's not a story that is often seen.
No, and it's real. It's a true story. Everything in the book is true, with the exception of names and locations. Other than that, it's all true. Everything that happened in there is true. And if you have any doubt of your life and your existence, maybe you need to take a step back and look at the people in your life. Maybe you need to take a step back and say, you know what? What do I need to do to become a better person?
Yeah.
You know? But yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's like that. And my story, for all the readers out there who are going to read this book, you know what? I want your feedback. And because I've had people call me, reach out to me, and they would tell me, "Hey, Dave, I thought I was the only one who grew up like this. Hey, Dave, your story touched my life. It touched my heart. Hey, Dave, your story did this for me. You did that for me." And just that alone, that fact that I wrote something, and it's an easy read. It's not a thick book. It's literally, when I first wrote it, it was really thick, and I cut it in half, and then I shortened the chapter just to get to the point, to make it an easy read. Because I'm not much of a reader, but I wanted something. I want to get my story out there, and I wanted to keep your attention, and I wanted you to say, you know what, and keep reading. Did I accomplish that with you, Matt?
You did. Yes, of course you did.
Yeah, and that's the whole thing about it, and because sometimes in life you just need to cut to the chase. And if you want a good story, a true story, and you want to, cut to the chase and not hear all the this and that, read my book. Read my book, and it will show you that you're not alone. It will show you that I'm here for you because you reach out to me, I will contact you right back. Simple. I really would. And it's just amazing to me how life is and how precious life is. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
Well, DV, thank you so much for being on the show. It was an honor speaking with you, and your story's so incredible. And like you mentioned, Amazon at Barnes and Noble, 35 pounds. D.V. Nelson, you got to read your book. People who are listening got to read your book. Thank you so much for being on the show, sir.
Thank you very much, Matt. I appreciate it. And to all your fans, thanks again for your time. And future guests and past guests, thank you.
DV, thank you so much, brother. Take care.
You too, bud. Thanks.
All right.